I cannot wait because the NFL season, it's just 2 days away. So many exciting storylines, but I got to narrow it down to my top 5. Y'all know me, though. When I'm standing here, it's hard for me to talk without my rock. Let me go ahead and get my rock. Okay, I need a better quarterback next time, but for now, we're good. Speaking of quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, he's my 5th biggest storyline because when I think about Russell Wilson, I'm interested in this and this only. Can you get the Denver Broncos to a Super Bowl? I'm watching that all season long. You left Pete Carroll, you and Pete Carroll, one of the winningest combinations in all of NFL history, and now you left, the grass better be greener out there in Denver. 4th biggest storyline. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo. Listen, America, they traded 3, 1, 2, 3, count them up, first-round picks for Trey Lance. But then they kept Jimmy G. Make that make sense. The math ain't mathin'. My 3rd biggest storyline, Lamar Jackson. We talked about him at length just a little bit ago. We will talk about him more for the rest of the season because you are either playing for $250 million guaranteed or you are playing with $250 million guaranteed. Either way, I'm watching that all season long. 2nd biggest storyline, Tom Brady, baby. Why? Because Tom Brady, I'm now curious, is Father Time finally going to catch up to him and say, Tag, you're it. You're the next victim. Tom Brady, he questioned if he wanted to retire. He came back. He took 11 days off during training camp. And if you all don't know what they say about NFL players, the moment you say the words retire, you've already retired. So I'm watching him all season long. But the biggest storyline, the one you all got to pay attention to, the one that's going to really rock the football world this season, the year of the 3rd year quarterback. Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Joe Burrow, in his 2nd year, went to a Super Bowl. Can he follow that up? Can he win a Super Bowl? Justin Herbert, he's the greatest quarterback of all time that hasn't made the playoffs. Tua Tagovailoa, they wanted him out of Miami, and now he's the king of Miami. And Jalen Hurts, you cannot be given more as a quarterback than what the Eagles have given you. These are the storylines, my 5. But let's head to the desk and focus in on my biggest storyline. Joy, you've heard my 5 biggest storylines. Yeah, you're more familiar with that. Go ahead. Don't fumble it. Joy, you focused in on, you've heard my 5 biggest storylines. What is your biggest storyline this season?
Or which was my biggest storyline?
Yes.
I'll go with you with the 3rd-year quarterbacks, and I think that the one that has the most pressure is Tua. They've already tried to replace him 3 times. They didn't start him, had Ryan Fitzpatrick. Then they tried to bring in Tom Brady, your 2nd biggest storyline. And they also were involved in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, which everyone kind of ignores.
So you're saying Tua has the most at stake is really the question I'm intending to ask.
Yes, he has the most at stake this year amongst those 3rd-year quarterbacks. To me, it's Tua, because they've already tried to replace him several times.
Yeah.
So the writing is on the wall. They also did everything they could possibly do to shore up the offense and build it around Tua. They brought in a bunch of pieces, obviously Tyreek Hill being the main point of the offseason for him. They brought in an offensive coach. So everything is now, which they should have done year 1, geared around their young quarterback. So he has to perform this year.
As an avid Dolphins fan, and I know some people try to criticize you and call you a fake Dolphins, but I know Joy's resilient. She's a resilient human being.
Tough.
Being a Dolphins fan takes resiliency.
Episode 1.
As an avid Dolphins fan, what do you need to see, like personally from Tua, to make you okay with the season?
I mean, I think he has to have a good to great season. Like, you got to step up. And you're in a division that is not that great. Outside of Buffalo, we don't know what we're getting with the Jets. You know what I'm saying? The Patriots don't have the roster that they used to have. Obviously, Tom Brady's not there. There's a lot of questions about them this year. So it's not that you are in a winnable division because the Bills are obviously better, but you have an opportunity here to really take a step up, and you have the weapons to do it. Like, the excuses are off the table.
I love that. Dave, you heard from Joy and I, our biggest storylines, the year of the quarterback, the 3rd-year quarterback. Joy says Tua has the most at stake. Who do you say has the most at stake of those 3rd-year quarterbacks?
See, Joy's own words make my point for me, which I agree with everything you just said. Obviously, all of these guys have pressure of their own kind. Tua doesn't play in a winnable division. He's sharing a division with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I think that takes the pressure off a little bit. You Philly guys know what I'm about to say. I've been saying it for 2 weeks. It's Jalen Hurts, man, and it's not fair.
Oh my God.
It's not fair because he's not a first-round pick. He's not as highly touted as these guys. Jalen Hurts is the only question mark on a team that would otherwise be considered a Super Bowl contender. Play in the NFC East, man. Dallas is banged up. Washington's leaning on Carson Wentz, and the New York Giants are the New York Giants. Jalen Hurts is the only X factor stopping us from talking about Philly as one of the 5 or 6 teams to beat in the entire NFL. He's playing for a contract. He's playing for the love of Philadelphia. He's playing to be the guy in Philly for the foreseeable future. And if he doesn't do it, They got 2 first-round picks. Howie Roseman loves a trade, does he not? Does he not? They will go get a quarterback. If he does not do a good job this year, he will not.
Back.
He won't be that guy. Next year, he won't.
Obviously, Shady and I played for the Eagles different periods of time. I would say that Jalen Hurts getting the Eagles back to the playoffs is enough. As somebody who knows about Jalen Hurts' biggest enemy and opponent, the Dallas Cowboys, what do you think is enough for Jalen Hurts to scare the Cowboys, to scare you, to put the NFC East on notice?
I mean, it's a little oversimplified. Obviously, winning the division would be a start. Getting back to the playoffs and getting to the playoffs as a team that people think might make noise. Like, they were a sacrificial lamb last year. We all know that.
Yep.
If they look like a more dangerous team this year and get to the playoffs, but on top of that, Jalen Hurts just has to be the reason why they win games. And I don't think that's what he is right now. He has to be a guy that you game plan against, a guy that you worry about stopping. I don't think he's been that guy to this point in his career.
Shady, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa. Those are the big-time third-year quarterbacks at question. Which one of those quarterbacks has the most at stake?
I look at both your guys' picks, right? And I look at the quarterbacks. They have a big ceiling to get to, right? They're gradually getting better and better and better. I'm going with Joe Burrow, right? And Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow that went to a Super Bowl last year?
Him.
Joe Shiesty.
Right? The tattoo, LSU? Yeah, him.
Joe Shiesty.
So real quick.
The one and only.
Okay, so I look at these quarterbacks, right? In his second year, they go down to Arrowhead, right? Kansas City. And they beat the Chiefs, Andy Reid Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. They beat them at home. Did you have him pick to win that game? Be honest.
No.
No.
Not at all.
So Joe, in the second he does that, so where do we go from now?
That's a good question.
Where do we go?
Yep.
You can't go from not making the playoffs next year. Imagine if the Bengals don't make the playoffs. Think about it.
Well, I mean, you can have a
No.
Super Bowl
Think about it.
hangover. You can have a Super Bowl hangover where you don't go as far
They
as
play
you
in a
went.
tough
If they
division,
don't make
too.
it back to the Super
see the
Bowl,
excuses?
that's okay.
But
I think they do need to make the playoffs. But he just took the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl. How does he have the most pressure on him?
Yeah.
This is the thing, though, because now, where can you go? You gotta. Now we need a Super Bowl. Everybody sits there and like, we need a Super Bowl. We've been there. We know what it feels like. We learned a little bit. We learned a lot. We keep getting better and better.
Yeah,
But you know, they gotta
you know
win.
how hard it is to get to a Super Bowl?
Listen. If
Justin
Joe,
Herbert hasn't even made the postseason yet.
I'll give you a better example, right? In a second, let me think of a guy. Dan Marino. Do you remember him? He's one of the best of all time. And his second year, where did he go?
Super Bowl.
He went where?
Super Bowl. Super Bowl?
Has he been back?
No, sir, still not.
Has he been back? Listen. And I'm
ain't been back.
I'm a Pittsburgh guy. I love Dan. I just seen Dan about 2 weeks ago at the Miami training camp.
We're about to say, we're not about to have no Dan Marino.
So all I'm saying is this, though. I love Dan. He's a Pitt guy. It's hard to get back there. And your second you go there, the expectations are so high. I don't know, Joe Burrow.
Okay.
I don't know.
Here's why I like Shady's point.
You're going to say that a lot. You're going to say a lot this year.
My dog.
That's right.
Bengals went 2-14 before Joe Burrow shows up. Joe Burrow shows up, they win 6 games. Obviously, he tears his ACL, MCL, and every CL you can spell out in his second year. Second year goes to the Super Bowl. Third year, what happens? You can't win 6 games, go to the Super Bowl, win 6 games. Like, where are we on this?
Okay, but if they make the postseason and they win a game in the playoffs, that's a massive step back? Like, that's a failure of a season?
No. I'll give you that. But here's
a lot of pressure.
Let me sprinkle a little bit of cayenne pepper into this conversation.
Come on, put that on there, baby.
A little
Put
bit of
that on
cayenne. I think Justin Herbert has the most at stake.
Ooh.
Now, see, that I can get on board with.
And let me get you further on the
Shady's
board.
the crazy one.
I think Herbert has the most at stake because within 3 years, you really know if a QB is going into the Hall of Fame. Sounds outlandish.
Whoa.
Think of every quarterback.
The first 3?
I'll tell Kurt Warner you said that.
Think of every quarterback since the turn of the century. You knew Russell Wilson was going into the Hall in 3 years. Ben Roethlisberger, you knew if he was going to go into the Hall, it was because of what happened in the first 3 years. Patrick Mahomes, it's because of what happened in the first 3 years. I won't say you know they'll go into the Hall in 3 years. Let me rephrase that. After 3 years, you can have your Hall of Fame credentials basically solidified. Russell Wilson ain't going to the Hall because he won 10 straight seasons with 10 wins. No, he going into the Hall because he went to 2 Super Bowls, won. Ben Roethlisberger, Super Bowls. You know in them first 3 years what's going to happen to a quarterback. Justin Herbert is kind of on the precipice of greatness or continuing to be a question mark. That's where I think a lot's at stake. You're shaking your head. Why?
He lost me too, Joe. He lost me.
Why?
No. We talk about the NFL Hall of Fame. It's the most prestigious Hall of Fame in all of sports. Ain't no jokers in there at all. It's a real thing. And no conflict over who's getting in, baseball Hall of Fame nonsense. That's not it. you can have a very long career and not make it to a Super Bowl and still get into the Hall of Fame based off of your numbers and the amount of contributions.
I think rare for quarterbacks, because think about
into
this
the game. 3 years is nothing. You can decide if they're going to be the future of your organization in 3 years, but you don't have your Hall of Fame credentials cemented in your first 3 years.
What I'm saying is this. Retroactively, because hindsight is 20/20, or when wearing these glasses, retroactively, you know this much. In the first 3 years, we can look back and say, oh, wow, it was really them first 3 years that got you there. Because Phillip Rivers, he's a fringe Hall of Famer, never got to a Super Bowl. But all of our surefire Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowls. So, again, when I say what's at stake for Herbert, it's, are we going to look up after 3 years, Joy, and he's not made the playoffs? We can't keep uttering he's great.
I haven't put Justin Herbert in the Hall of Fame. That's everybody else. I think Justin Herbert is an incredible talent, but he does need to start taking steps up on the field as far as the winning goes. They need to make the postseason this year. But if they don't make the postseason this year, I'm not going to go as far as to say that Justin Herbert will never have the potential to have a Hall of Fame career. He could play another 10 years.
I will say this, though, if Herbert, before you get in, Dave, if Herbert doesn't make the playoffs this year, I do think he is going to have the biggest narrative change of all these quarterbacks.
Yeah, but narratives and winning and success and a decade of numbers are all different things. I'm just going to stop putting him in the category of Joe Burrow, who's just played in a Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes, who has a league MVP, has played in 2 Super Bowls and has won a Super Bowl. I'm going to take him out of that conversation. But that's just me taking him out of a conversation doing this show. Doesn't mean he's not still going to have the potential and time to be a Hall of Famer.
And that's why Joy and I are right. Because Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, whatever happens to them this year, they're going to get their deals. They're going to be the quarterbacks of their teams. And we're going to be here next summer being like, is Justin Herbert going to do it this year? Like, we'll be doing it this time next year, too.
You know, he's so young. Like, bro, 3 years, he's so young. If he goes out there and has another 5,000 yards, right, and something like 30, 40 touchdowns.
Here I think is the
and gets better each, like, come on.
Here's where I'm
You're not any better. You're saying Joe's under the most pressure.
He is. Listen.
They would get a statue of him in Cincinnati today if they could.
How much better can you get?
You can't. You could win a Super Bowl. You could win multiple MVPs.
So hold up. So if he don't win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years, 2-3 years, what are we going to be saying about Joe Burrow? I'm telling you, it's hard to do.
We got a lot of show left. I got to put a pause in that conversation.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.